guys? Welcome to the channel. It's Adam at ND72. So today we got my Slk32 AMG back in the garage. So as there's been some talk on the internet, right now this car is, in my opinion, the world's fastest SLK M11 2K car. You know, AC, drives to the track, drives home, daily driver car, no meth, no nitrous, no nothing like that. This is the world's fastest one, in my opinion. If there's someone else out there, please make comments, show video, show proof. Because I have plenty of videos of last year of this car going 11.0 in the quarter mile. But now when we went to that 11.0, we had a few issues that day. First of all, we didn't launch the car. That was right off the road, and we spun a little bit. Went 11.0 at like 124 miles an hour, and our 60 foot was like a 1.6, so not that good. So today, we're going to be putting a part in here that I hope will fix that extremely. Alright, so since we went that 11.0 roughly 8-9 months ago, we didn't really add any more power to the car because I don't think power was my problem. My problem was getting out of the hole. So we were spinning, and when we had the Nitto tires on there, the drag radials. So since then, as you saw in my previous video, we upgraded to the Mickey Thompsons, which help out so much better. We also changed the whole suspension around. So this car has ground control, coil adjustable. So it's basically a coil spring. You can pick your rate, and it has a little adjuster. I made a video about it. It had, I think they're called Koenig shocks, K-O-N-I shocks. But since then, this now has Viking two-way adjustable shocks, which help out extremely, as shown in the previous video. So now we think we definitely got the grip coming out of that hole, just boom! We think we got settled. So now we got to deal with our next problem. So you might think our next problem should be in the back end of the car. Maybe a limited slip, maybe a welded diff, maybe something like that. Yes, that should be addressed. I already talked to a company. We are getting that sorted out. That's not what we're doing today. Right now, we're hoping that this car will hook up at the power level, and I won't need that yet. Am I going to buy one? Yes, but not yet. So what we're going to be doing is not even in the rear. It's more in the center of the car. So what we're going to be doing with is something that is right in this area. So let's pump this bagger up a little bit. Okay, so this is a transmission. This is not the transmission from the car. This is a transmission from my E55. As you see in the previous video, this one's kind of going a little bit bad, but something that sits right here is called a torque converter. So we are going to be changing out the torque converter on our Slk32. Now you might think, are you just going to take the E55 one or something like that? No, we got a custom built torque converter. Don't mind that. That is actually equipment that is cleaning clothes. Call the washing machine. So, we got a custom torque converter. So how we did this, a couple of torque converters are a little bit pricey. This one cost roughly $800 that I got. It got built to my spec. I told them everything about the car, and we went off there. This is from Ding Racing. So Ding Racing makes valve bodies for a lot of the 722.6, and they make torque converters. So basically, you send them your torque converter, or you have to wait for the exchange program. So they take a factory torque converter, cut it in half, and rebuild it, regut it to the specs you want. So I told them the weight of the car, the power, everything, and he built this one for me. So this should bolt directly up and be a big upgrade. We chose 35 RPM stall, because the factory should be around 11, but we're going to go test that right now. So we're going to go out there and do some like little bit shots just to show you my launching procedure. Okay guys, before we start working on the car, we're going to do a few testings from inside the car to show you what the problem is. So, as you guys get it, when I'm trying to launch, I never really launch into my videos. I want to go faster, and I want to get into boost when I start, so I get a better 60 foot. So, the way to do that is torque converter. So, the torque converter we ordered is going to be a 34 stall, where I'm pretty sure the factory is like 1,000 or 1,200 right over there. So, we're actually going to show you, like, when I start loading up the car, it's going to break away way before we really even get into really any boost. And that is not going to be that good, but it's going to help us out so much with the new torque converter to actually get into the boost and launch pretty hard. So normally, I'll be at the strip, put the car in drive, shut off the ESP, go to first gear, and then if I try to load up the car, so I got the foot hard on the effing brake, the sun. We try to load up the car, it's already pushing me hardcore forward, like I'm hard foot, and you can feel the whole car shaking, and we're not even making, you can even see that 0 PSI of boost. So if I try to go a little bit more, 15, 14, we're like, I can feel the car leaching forward, and we're at a little bit of boost. If I start going any more, the tire's gonna break loose. And see the car, like when I let it go, the car almost stalls out from that. I don't know if you felt that. But let's show you kind of like look at the tires. I'm going to try to do a small launch over here. So that's me trying to do a current little launch with the setup. When I tried to go right around 1400 RPMs, the actual right tire was spinning a little bit, so I had to bring it back down, and that's the max. With the new torque converter, I should be able to go up to 34 F100 and then launch, and this car should not start like creeping. Because how the kind of torque converter works, if I'm wrong about this, you got the engine, torque converter, transmission, and it's just a fluid pump. So they have little veins in there and all that stuff, and as your motor is spinning, it's not fully engaging the other side yet. So this one engages it so early, and then they have torque converter solenoids, you can do all this other stuff, but having the torque converter in there, like an upgraded one, is going to help out so much. So as you guys see with that, the car, when you start loading it up, you can't even really get past 1,000. It starts shaking and creeping, and that just sucks on the drag strip. So I did lose a race when I tried to launch this once, and it just juddered, went through the beams, I red lit. So with the new torque converter, like I said, 34,000, I think it's like we did with 34 or 3,500. So now I should be able to go up to there roughly, launch and go, instead of the normal 1,000. So we're going to hope that I don't need a new TCU tune to change the torque converter lockup. We're going to hope that this works. If it doesn't, I have another torque converter to send them. We'll just move the RPMs around a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. I'm sure these torque converters, from my understanding, the one from the Slk should bolt up to my E55. So if I don't have enough power to get on that torque converter, I'll put that in my E55 and just do a little swap-a-rooey. Should not be a problem. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show you a quick little drop the transmission, put a torque converter in there, and then we're going to go test it in my private little strip area and just see, make sure I can get up on the RPM. We'll do some slow motion footage, wheel spin. We just want to check that all out and see how much boost. Because also with the current setup, I leave, if I try to launch it, what I never really did, you leave on 1 PSI if anything. I would like that to be a lot higher so I can maybe get that 60 foot down to maybe like something like a 1.4 or 1.50. That should help me out down the track by far. So let's start knocking this bad girl out, get it on the lift. We'll show you the parts when we get them. This should be a time-consuming one-day job with a lot of repetitive stuff. So we're going to show you the gist of it, of bolts, this, that, pull it down. I could do this at my house. I have a lift. If you do not have a lift, you could do it on the ground or just take it to someone and get it pulled in and pulled out. I don't know how much they charge to do a tranny, drop down and put in. That's something you have to check with your local shop. Most likely shouldn't be too much money, I hope, if you guys do it. For me, this is just basically fluid and parts. So in fluid and parts will be well under $1,000 bucks, as long as effing nothing breaks. But let's start knocking it out. Oh, also, with my car, I got the long tube headers, so this job might be a little bit harder for me than it is for you, but we got a series of extensions. I've done trainings on these cars before. I did it with my E55 with long tubes, and I've done it with no long tubes on my Slk, so this one shouldn't be that bad. We'll try to replace whatever we find broken in there, because this car, I normally daily drive it to work all the time, but I'm always planning to drive the E55 or whatever, but I interchange them, so we're still knocking this bad girl out, have some fun. Alright, first thing I always like to do is I like to make sure I have enough access to my crank bolt, because since we are taking the torque converter out in the tranny, we have to be able to spin the motor without running it or anything. We need enough room over there. So with an Slk32 and a Crossfire and a C32 and basically any of the AMGs, you could pull the fan out, not even the non-AMGs too. If you pull the fan out of the front of all these cars, you have so much more room to get to that crank bolt. So for an Slk32, 320, Crossfire, they should be all the same. You're going to have these little tabs that you pull out right over here with a screwdriver. See, right over there. Under your plug. And then these fans come so easily out. Don't mind that. So now this fan should come out with just some wiggling. That fan takes seconds to come out, and now you have all this room for if I need to basically get that bolt out, not get the bolt out, but to spin that crank. So now we're going to start lifting this car up and start taking all the bolts out. Everything else should be from the bottom of the car. Now, there's about 4 bolts up top you can take out from the top, just because with the V6s, you have so much of that room there. But for me, I have my intake, I have a lot of other stuff there. So I'm going to try to just do them from the bottom. Oh, yeah. Disconnect your battery, because with this procedure, you're going to be removing your starter. Not removing it out of the car, but debolting it and putting it to the side. Disconnect your battery right effing now, then you can put the car up. Okay, so just because this is so many tight spots, I can't really show you everything. So we're going to go a brief overview. Right here, you have the bolts that hold the transmission to the engine. These are E14s. So they're not all the same. So like that one and that one are the same. But if you look up over, man, if I could even show you. Okay, right here. Can I get up in there? Right over there. You see this one right here? Right there. And then there's one right above it. They have nuts on the back. Can you see it? Let's try to get a better light. Oh, there you go. So see how they have nuts on the back? So these are longer, and these are going to be the exact same on the other side. The reason is because these are mocked up for a right-hand drive car, where the starter would be over here. But on my car, the starter is right. Where's my little handy? Come on, find you in the camera. There we go. Right there is the starter, so that's where those bolts are. So these are long, and they pass through the starter, which they're going to mimic the ones right up there. Now, I would recommend doing these maybe almost last. These are transmission cooler lines. So right here should be a 19 for me. It's a banjo bolt with 2 gaskets, so don't lose them. You're going to pull this out, and you will be losing fluid. Now, yes, you could drain your fluid from here, but you're still going to be dumping it from up there because it's so high. Now, on some of the torque converters, you could drain the torque converter. Like, here, let me show you the E55. So you see on the E55, they have a drain bolt right there, and it has a gasket. I've only seen the E55 with these. I don't know if any other torque converter has it, but they all look the same except for that little bolt. So you could try to drain. Another thing, remember how we said we needed all this room up here? Give me the light. All that room for that crank bolt right there to spin the motor. That's because you actually have bolts that are holding the torque converter and the motor. So you can pull the transmission first, but I do everything simultaneously. So what you're going to do is this cover right there. Right there, there's a little cover that you pop off, and then as you spin the motor, you could see these bolts. So I like to do these first. So we're going to pop it off. Okay, can't pop it up. Just get a screwdriver. So these are good inspection covers. So you just pop that off. Try not to lose these or break it. Can I do it with one hand? I might need 2 screwdrivers. So we pop that bad boy off, and now you can see your flywheel. Let's see. I don't know if I can get really good angles with this. So you can see your flywheel now, and then we're going to go get a 27 to spin this, and I'll show you the nuts. And the nuts in there are 13s. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a 27-inch socket, 27-millimeter socket, not 27 inches, Jesus. You're going to put it on your crank bolt, and you're going to tighten. This should be relatively easy. You see how easy I can do it? And then as you're tightening, you're going to look through those little holes until you see 2 nuts. So I'm going to spin it. When I see the nuts, I'll show you what it looks like. Don't do this on a wheelie chair because it's rolling me around. Okay, I can see them. Let me show you. Okay, so you see right there, there's going to be a nut there, and there's another one right over there, and they're 13s. So break these loose. So break these, then spin it. Break the next one, spin it, so on and so forth, until you got them all out. Oh, also, so right over here, there's 2 other little, stop swinging. There's 2 other covers you could pop off. They're kind of inspection covers, so you could see if you did something wrong or anything like that, or if you need to get to that drain bolt. So there should be 6 of them. Just take them and put them to the side, and now you got your torque converter separated from the motor, still in the transmission. So now we're going to work on getting the lines and all the miscellaneous stuff. It should be 2 lines, and then all the bolts around the bell housing. I don't remember how many they are, but make sure you get them all. So to gain access to more of the bolts up top, we remove this because we have to remove the transmission anyways. Make sure you secure your motor with something because the motor will swing. So the part we have to remove is just this plate, which has 3 16s on each side. On my E55, there were 17s. And then this bracket, which is 13, 13, 13. So just remove it that way for clearance. Now the tranny will rock a little bit, but it's still mounted by a lot of stuff before you need to put your transmission jack. Also, what I want to show you, if you could see, I was having a little bit of wobbly shifter issues. So here's the shifter rod, and if you could hear it, there's a bushing that goes right, oh great, the light's in the way, right up there, which we'll show you when we pull the tranny down. It's actually a bushing that goes right here. So we will be replacing that bushing with a specialty tool because it's so much easier to do once the transmission's down. Because I'm going to most likely be sure that it's just like my E55 one that got blown the F out and then fell off in the road at some point. So we'll be changing this bushing too because my shifter had a little bit of like play and 90% sure it's that. Alright, so here's what most of the bolts look like. You have a total of 12 of these. So you see I only have 3 of these in a nut because with my long tube headers I can't pull this bolt all the way. So now it stays with the transmission. And I left, and you see I'm missing 2 because I leave 2 in the bottom just so I can knock out the next step. So at this point, I put my transmission jack just in case, and the next step is to take the Guido, so you're separating drive shaft from transmission. These sometimes are inverted torques, mine are just 19s. It's pretty straightforward. You can put the car in neutral and then spin it. You don't need all of these out, you only need the ones for this flange, and then you wiggle all the way through. Then you're going to do the lines. I do the lines at the last because I don't want to get oil all over the floor. So these are the bolts I just pulled out of that. These 100% are not the right hardware. This is not factory. Let me show you what the factory ones should be. I think I got one. Yeah. This is what the factory stuff should be. See how it's a, what's it called? Torx? That's what it should be. And I want to say it's like a 55 or a 60. But, yeah. So I don't have enough of the right stuff because I don't think I do. So we'll throw these back in there. But now what we're going to do, once you got that all unbolted, so now that you got it unbolted, you're going to just take a pry bar and just kind of like pry it off. Just be careful because you don't want to damage your little wiggle, but like see how it comes off? And you're going to pry it and wiggle it away so you can clear it and get this out. All right, now you're going to get the transmission lines, which are going to be right here. They're a 19 on this side, and then this one right here, same thing, a 19. And then now, get your transmission all set up, ready on the jack, and then these are the last 2 bolts I pull. And then I'm going to take a little pry bar and try to separate it. Be careful. It's going to make a mess. Just be safe. All right, so we got the transmission out. One thing I will 100% notate. This is a torque converter. That's the part we are changing. All right. This, where is it? Right over here is that gasket. Can you see? Yeah, the gasket that's missing. So before we do anything in the torque converter and take it out, I need to show you one trick because these have to make 3 clicks to go in. And if you mess it up, you'll F up your transmission. So I always just either take a picture from the side or you take a ruler. Where's the 1 mark? Right there. Is it a 1 or a 4? Neither say. So you're going to take the ruler, put it right there. Will it focus? Nope, won't focus. Right there so you can kind of get a general idea of how much the torque converter needs to stick out. Because you will see that the torque converter will lock in at one spot but be too far back. Also, remember how we didn't drain any fluid yet? This is where you're going to dump fluid out. So put a bucket somewhere over here by your torque converter. Now to take these out, you literally just pull. So we're going to pull this bad girl right out, dump all the oil out, and get ready for the new one. So you got the torque converter right here. To take this bad girl out, let's kind of pump it up a little bit. That way it's more level to me. There we go. So we got our torque converter right there and a bucket underneath. So the plan is we're going to pull it out and then drop it down to kind of keep it clean. But you'll wiggle. Oh, make sure you strap your transmission down. Don't rip it off. So wiggle that bad girl out. See how it's coming out now? And now we're dumping fluid out. Pull it out. And we're going to let this sit there and just drain out for a while. Alright. Now we got that flipped over. We can check our input shaft. Feels pretty good. A little play. I'm going to check with the other one to see if it's the same type of play. Seal looks pretty good and new. We'll clean this whole bell housing out and then get ready for the new piece. So another fun little thing is these transmissions I'm going to show you while we're out because it's so easy to tell what 722.6 you have. And then I'll put a little sheet so you can actually see a lot of your specs on it. But right over here I'm going to show you, there's an actual little plate where you can read. Okay, I'm going to kind of show you the plates. So this is an example of how you read it. So this is off of my E55, which you have the plate right here that's supposed to be. But since this one is an original Mercedes one, not saying the other ones aren't original, but they didn't start putting the plates until a little after, I'm pretty sure. But here's one where it actually scraped on. What I'm pretty sure that happened was one was rebuilt and one wasn't. But you see how these numbers are kind of hard to see a little bit? Oh, you can see a little bit. Like this one is a 722.64. But I'm going to show you a little trick with a pen so you can see it better. So here's kind of like the teeny trick. Just sit there and like color it all up, which you're like, oh, that's going to make it so much harder. Then you just take a little rag and you go like this. There you go, there you go. See? The numbers actually stay. So I'll clean it a little bit better. Another thing, it's where the little shifter gasket or bushing goes. That with the special tool I have, you're just going to put it in there and squeeze it, and this is so much easier outside the car. Almost all my cars, these blown out. Now when they blow out, it's just going to make the shifter a little bit sloppy. Now another thing, when I'm putting the new transmission back in, there's a bolt right here. I'm going to be gluing the nut on, because with my long tube headers, they make it so I can't even get this off. So originally when I had to pull the tranny out, the bolt will go this way into it, but I don't have enough room to come out because I hit the headers that go right here with my SLK. So I'm just going to put some super glue really quick and then do the bolt from this way when I install it. That's really it. So now we're going to throw all that stuff back in there and go for a test drive. So we got the car pretty much set up how I think I'm going to want it. So now what we're going to do is to take my little drag strip I got over here. We're going to back the car up, do some slow motion footage. I'm going to put some prep down and we're going to see how good it does. Alright, one other thing we're kind of going to do, I'm going to throw some of my little makeshift prep on the ground just to give it a little bit stickier so we're not spinning so much so I can see some good data. Okay, so now since we got the transmission in, we've been driving around for a few days, just kind of daily driving it. Now we're going to fire this bad girl up. I already let it warmed up, and we're actually going to test that little torque converter to see how high up we can get the RPMs now if we got all of our specs right. We're hoping for like 35 before the car starts creeping forward. But if anything, 34, 32, it's going to be way better than like, what, 1,200 we were at before? So let's see it. Alright, so we're going to put brake in gear, and actually see what we could get it up to and what our boost will be. So this is me with the pedal. Last time we started creeping forward right around here. Oh, we're doing good. Oh. Oh, that's pretty good. What are we at? What are we at? AFR is pretty good. Boost pretty good. Let's lower that bad girl down. That was pretty good. So far, let me shut this bad girl off. We're getting into boost pretty good, and we can get up to, what was that, like 3,400 RPMs. I probably could have went a little bit more. Car wasn't creeping forward at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the car cool back down a little bit because you don't want to be on that, like, trans brake, whatever you want to call it, for too long. So we're going to wait about like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, let the car cool down, pull it to my mini little drag strip, put the cameras up, do a nice little pool. So this car, I will tell you this, now that I can actually rev it up a lot higher by holding the foot brake and actually getting the torque converter before the car starts creeping early before, it comes out of the hole, feels so much faster. Great that we're doing it on my makeshift little drag strip out there, but I'm hoping once I take it to the actual track, this thing should launch way harder, because now we're able to kind of like launch in boost, where before we couldn't. So that hopefully will bring my 60 foot down and so on and so forth. That's what we're hoping. And with the shocks, the new shocks I did a few videos ago, the Vikings, it should hold and hook up. The only other thing I would maybe be worried about is maybe if I break an axle soon, but we'll go through that when it happens. But I've been driving around the car with that torque converter, normal daily driving, feels fine. You don't notice it at all. It's just as you saw in that video, I can now load it up so much effing more. And for this whole setup being under $1,000 when I bought it, very good, very happy with the product. If anyone really wants to know more information, I'll tell you guys and show you where I got it all. Everything went from Ding Racing. Basically, you send your torque converter out, they send it out, get it modified, and you get it back. Not that much money. It's a very good deal. Now, granted, it is a little bit of a turnaround of, I think, roughly 3 weeks it takes, like I said before. But still, I am super happy with it. I most likely maybe be doing this to my E55. One of my other cars will send a spare torque converter out, but hopefully you guys like the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe. You know, go contact these companies. Tell them you saw the video. All that does is really help me out, and there'll be more videos coming on my Slk32. We're going to be taking that bad girl back to the track and try to go even faster just with those simple suspension mods. Hopefully the 60-foot will be a lot better. But catch you guys later.